we're doing announcements first, I see. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. I'm Carl Sonnen, and I'm the Secretary of the Board of Directors. Here are this morning's announcements. The Adult Learning and Growth team wants your input. What courses and what workshops would you like to see here offered at FirstU? You can let us know by completing a short survey. There's a link to the survey in the EUU, and there will be leaflets at the back of the congregation. Hard copies, and it'll only take a couple minutes of your time, and Eva Behringer will be around to answer any questions you may have. Also, our board is looking for persons interested in serving on the board of a new organization being created with Thea Partners to manage our 16-story apartment tower that will be built soon. Information was sent a couple of weeks ago to all congregation members in an email blast, and it's also available on the members page of the EU website. If you would like to discuss this, feel free to contact Chuck Shields at president@firstunitarianottawa.ca. Also, we need new ushers and greeters. Do you like running into old friends and making new ones? We're looking for a few more people to act as Sunday morning greeters and ushers. You need to be available one Sunday every few weeks, depending on numbers. The only skill needed is a welcoming smile. Childcare will also be available before the service if you need it as a greeter. And finally, email Barb if you'd like to be involved. Her contact is in the EUU. Thank you.
So this morning we're going to begin by singing together. We will be singing Sawabona, as we have for the last while. This is a Zulu piece, and yes, we're welcoming back the projector today, so yay, you can see the words up there. This is a piece based on a Zulu greeting, which means I see you, and the response Sikona means I am here. So rather than just saying hi or hello, it's this lovely greeting which really acknowledges the personhood and the presence of the other person by saying I see you. So here we go. Sawabona, 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 sikona. Sawabona, sawabona, sikona, ubuntu. Sawabona, 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 sikona. Sawabona, sawabona, sikona, ubuntu. Sawabona, 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 sikona. Sawabona, sawabona, sikona, ubuntu.
Thank you, Jen. Bonjour tout le monde. Welcome everyone to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ottawa. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or watching from wherever you may be, know that you are welcome. I'm the Reverend this congregation's lead minister, and this morning we have two special guests with us. In honor of National Indigenous Peoples Day, we have asked Sylvia Smith and Lindsey Barr to join us. Beyond reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, settlers are also asked to reconcile with the land on which we now live. Oh yeah, this thing. Is that better? I apologize. All right. Beyond reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, settlers are asked also to reconcile with the land on which we live. In this light, our guests this morning have a novel idea for us all. Ms. Smith is the Director of Justice for Indigenous Women, founder of Project of Heart, and was an honorary witness to Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Ms. Barr is the founder of World Changing Kids and author of Plant a Garden of Kindness.
Good morning, I'm Lee, your worship associate for today. We acknowledge that our FirstU campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin Anishinaabe territory, and that the work of reconciliation is the responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all of those who have the willingness to understand, to be of service to those who are at risk, and to advocate for justice. Let's join our voices in song once more. Please rise in body and spirit as we sing together, Hallelujah, number 366 in our gray hymnal. The lyrics will also be on the screen above.
Before we begin this song, I wanted to say a little bit about it. This comes from the Muskogee Creek hymn tradition. A few words on it from Dr. Hugh Foley, who's a Native American history professor at Rogers State University. This music is from the 1800s and was a combination of African spirituals with Muskogee words and perhaps some influence from Scottish missionaries who brought in Christianity and their own singing style. So the three of these merge into what we know as the Muskogee Creek hymn tradition, which are a unique musical product in American and world music history. So it's this really lovely and neat piece, which we haven't done much before. So before we sing it, I will take a moment to teach it to you. So I'll sing a phrase, and then you can repeat it back to me. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Good, we'll try it all together now.
fitting song for the day and the weather. We light our chalice this morning to these words adapted from those by Kathleen Mateague. You who awoke broken-hearted, who woke today with the winds of despair whistling through your mind, come in. You who are brave but wounded, limping today a bit and hurting with every step, come in. This place is a sanctuary, and it is for you. You who awoke this morning with strength and hope, you who have everything to give, come in. This place is your calling, a riverbank to channel the sweet waters of life, a place where you are called by the world's need. Here we offer in love. Here we receive in gratitude. Come in. Our chalice is lit. Come, let us worship together as we begin by singing our chalice song.
Chalice, chalice, burning bright, help remind us with your light of how we'd like to live each day, with love and truth helping lead the way.
As health challenges continue, do take care and take advantage of online opportunities at FirstU to stay in touch. If you're new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. And if you're right here in Worship Hall with us this morning and would like more information about FirstU, it's available at the welcome table at the back of the pews. We encourage you to sign up to receive the EUU, our weekly email newsletter. Sign-up information is available on our website under the Communications tab, and a fancy QR code on the back of our printed programs. Check our Facebook and Instagram pages and our websites for notices and updates. Our calendar continues to be as full as ever, although some of our events are taking place online. This morning, each of us is welcome. We of any heritage or faith, whatever our burdens, of any culture or race, of any gender or orientation, in any body, all that we are. Today, we are all part of this spiritual community.
Each week, we pause in our time together in recognition of the joys and sorrows in our lives and across the globe. We honor our celebrations and challenging by placing stones in bowls of water. As the ripples extend outward, we imagine them continuing out beyond these small bowls, out through and past our pews, out into the larger community of all. A stone of joy and appreciation this morning for all the parents and grandparents who have children graduating from high school or university this time of year, despite the challenges of starting with online classes. And a stone for those next door at Unitarian House who are dealing with a continuing respiratory illness outbreak. Some of our own are caught up in that, and it is limiting their activities. And now please come forward if you will, if you have a stone or stones to drop for joy or challenge or sorrow, please, this is your time. Come forward if you will. last stone, as always, is for all that remains in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. In a moment, we'll move into a time of stillness and reflection. And after several moments, we'll come back together through the gift of music, though not Jen's gifts, but a recorded song titled "We Were Here" by Anishinaabe. Anishinaabe is an Oji Creek musician of the Sucker Clan of the Sandy Lake First Nation, a remote fly-in community in northwestern Ontario. "We Were Here" is from his debut album, Watan. The album is named after and inspired by conversations with his grandfather about growing up on Sandy Lake First Nation and in residential school. Now, let us move into a few moments of stillness and meditation. It's in our blood. Many of you know that I was born some distance south and a little east of here in the traditional lands of the Lenni Lenape, in what one looking at a modern, politically based calendar would say is the central part of the U.S. state of New Jersey. The family had a house on one of two long hills that were called the Watchung Mountains. And they weren't mountains, let me be clear. They were hills, a little like the Gatineau, but much less in stature. But still, at the top of the hill that we were on, it was called Mountaintop Road. That was aspirational. But when I listen to Native, Indigenous elders, when they tell me that the land is alive, the first image that comes to mind is standing at the top of my family's driveway, shouting out hello across the valley and hearing the echo, hello, come back. I haven't outgrown that, thank goodness. But that's just the start of the equation, just the start of honoring a relationship that needs to be honored. So when it comes to these things, I always try to be in learning mode. And it is in that mode that I welcome our guests this morning, Lindsey and Sylvia. Thank you for being with us.
This is wonderful to be here this morning on the lands of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, and it's almost breathtaking. You come in here and you've got this incredible view out the back of the Kitizibi River, and a building with windows. It doesn't take much. You can feel that you're part of nature. So thank you for inviting us here today, all of you.
Okay, should I jump in? Okay, so as was introduced, my name is Lindsey, and I have a company called World Changing Kids. And within that, I run an Upstanders Academy where I meet weekly with kids ages 8 to 13 online, and we talk about important topics, social justice topics, and we come up with actions we can take to help. So that's kind of what I'm here sharing with you today, what the kids and I have learned in our last session about water. So what we're going to do today is present a couple teachings, a couple things that I've learned and shared with Sylvia, and Sylvia probably already knew most of them from the beginning, and then we're going to leave you with 2 social justice actions that we're inviting you to take with us. So one will be writing a letter to the Prime Minister about clean drinking water in all Indigenous communities. So we have some templates to help you with that we'll have set up during coffee hour. And the second is to sign the declaration to show your support for personhood for the Gatineau River, which we're going to explain to you through some videos. We have been warned that the videos go in and out, as you saw in that song, but the audio will be there. So hopefully that is enough. And so if you want to add anything, or should we just jump into the first video?
Well, I think I would also like to say that I was very fortunate to have met Lindsey. We sort of have a little bit of a history together, but when we last connected in a big way was at Beechwood Cemetery when the Project of Heart tiles that were commemorating the lives of the Indigenous First Nations, Métis, and Inuit students who didn't return to their homes. There were thousands of them there. And it was at that event that Lindsey and I realized, we've got an awful lot in common here. And so Lindsey now actually facilitates community Project of Heart events and is really a very, very special and honored activist in our community. So she doesn't just work with kids, she works with adults as well. So I just had to get a little bit of that in, Lindsey.
All right, thank you. I actually, what I would say I do mostly is intergenerational things.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. My upstanders is just like one thing I do, but that's what I'm sharing with you today. So the first video we have is one of the videos that the kids and I watched together that we thought was so powerful and just sets a beautiful tone for what we want to speak about today. So we'll just start with that.
In the Lakota way of prayer, which has by now become almost a global saying, Mini Wichoni, they said. That has a lot of meaning, but a kind of shorthand is to say that water is
So I'm going to let Lindsey, or Lindsey is going to be the one to present basically this learning time. But I just wanted to mention beforehand how incredibly moved I am to be able to hear the words of someone who has this kind of commitment to the water and to nature, and that we can all have that. We can all have that too. So, Lindsey, go ahead. You're.
Okay, well, we can go back and forth
Yeah.
too. It's a conversation. And one thing I do like to follow up with that video, especially for the kids that are in the room, although not only kids, everyone can find this cool, when she says that all of our ancestors have drank from the same water. Something I like to say to the kids is, so have the dinosaurs. So we are all drinking the same water. And I think that's such a beautiful, the first time I heard that, it just blew my mind. And I also love that she said that it intensifies your prayers as you were putting your prayers into water with the stones. Like, that was just so
And
beautiful.
even the cutting out of the visual sort of helps us. We can close our eyes and we can just listen. So I think everything is sort of coming together here. It's not just the amnesia or the, what was the
You were
word?
saying the fainting spells.
Yes, the fainting spells that we
Yeah.
got up here.
Yeah. So I also love the idea that I get to share that with kids, and now I'm sharing with you. And I just think, like you said, if we have that as the teaching, and especially with kids, what are they going to be able to do going out into the world with that as their foundation of how we should see the world? So moving on, so that was to set the intention of water and why we want to talk about it today. So our first topic is the fact that not all Indigenous communities have access to clean drinking water. And even you were saying in Kitigan-Zibi, not far from here.
Yeah, 2 hours north of here, Kitigan-Zibi is one of the longest running
Boil water advisories.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the kids and I also had the great pleasure of having Gilbert White Duck come in to speak with us in my Upstanders Academy, and he was saying that he does not have clean drinking water available at his house through pipes, so he gets bottled water brought in, the big Culligan bottles, which he says, are in plastic, which isn't his first choice, and if it's left on his porch on a really hot day and he's not there, it gets really hot, and if it's left in the winter, it freezes, and then you have to take it in and unfreeze it, so... Yeah.
And then you have the leaching of the chemicals from the plastic into the water. So even though it's healthier than drinking their own water, it's still not the best.
Yeah, and not far from here at all. So we have another video to show of one of my very favorite people in the whole world, one of my heroes, Autumn Pelche. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's a young First Nations water activist, water commissioner. The video we're going to show is from when she's 16. She's now probably about 18. I know she just graduated high school. So the video is a bit old, but it is beautiful, and she is a wonderful person to know.
I'm 16 years old. I'm from Manitoulin Island, and I am currently living in Ottawa. I'm doing this work as we can't just pray anymore. We must do something, and we need to do it now. Water is a basic human right. Everyone deserves access to clean drinking water, no matter what our race or color is, or how rich or poor we are. When I was 8 years old, I was attending a water ceremony in a First Nations community. I asked my mom to go to the washroom, and all over the walls said, "Don't drink the water, not for consumption, boil water advisory." And we had to use hand sanitizer after using the washroom. And I was very confused as to why it was like that. So I asked my mom, "What does all of this mean? Why can't we drink the water? Why can't we wash our hands?" And then she explained to me what all of it meant, what a boil water advisory was, and that the community that we were in has been on a boil water advisory for over 20 years. I visited a First Nations community, I think, last summer, and it's at Awapiskat First Station. They're a northern community in Ontario. said to me that she feels bad that her grandparents, who are both over 70, have to walk every day 2 kilometers with buckets of water to get their water from a well that everyone in the community has to share. And honestly, that's terrible. Like, I went there, and you wouldn't even think that you're in Canada. They're living in, like I said, they're living in third world conditions, and we're in a first world country. It should not be like this. In 2016, I was at the Assembly of First Nations in Gatineau, Quebec, and I guess you could say I told off the Prime Minister when I was 12 years old, and that's honestly one of my like, proudest moments that I constantly look back to, because I felt like I really made an impact when I spoke to him. I was told to not say anything to him, just to give him the gift, but there was something in me that, like, this is my opportunity to say something, so I took the opportunity, and I said, I'm very unhappy with the choices you've made and broken promises to my people. And then he said, I understand that. And then I started crying. He said, he will protect the water. And so with that, I'm gonna hold him accountable to that as long as he's Prime Minister, because that's a strong promise to make, especially to a person like me. I like to say that's when you know something is wrong, is when a child speaks up. And that's when you have to do something to fix it, because we shouldn't have to be speaking up.
Okay, so if you didn't know her before, I'm very happy to be able to introduce you to her. The next short video I have, which I hope is going to work with it going in and out, we'll wing it, is a child, a 10-year-old, reading a letter that after all this learning we did together, she wrote based on the template that we have for you later. So I just thought it was a powerful example of the letter you can write and showing that you do have a voice, and especially for young people in the audience, even, you know, you have a voice too. You have a powerful voice, even more so maybe, when you write a letter to the Prime Minister. So let's see if this one is going to be okay. It's only like a minute if it doesn't work.
Dear Prime Minister, I invite you to the meeting to fulfill the promise you made to both the country and watershed Ottawa in 2015. You promised that your government would put an end to all long-term drinking water advisories and all First Nations reserves by March 2021. You have not fulfilled your promise. There are still 50+ advisories left to complete. What are my demands and what I hope for? It is simple. Access to clean and safe tap water for drinking, bathing, showering, heating, oil, and food. I am disgusted that so many Indigenous communities are deprived of this basic human right. It is a violation of not just Indigenous rights, but human rights. They are living in third-world conditions in a first-world country, not a country. As someone who has a family, you should understand that you would never want your child to be unable to drink or to have a shower without getting a rash. Well, this is the reality for many families, and we're not stopping it. The solution, I expect and urge your government to provide appropriate resources and funds to support the development of much-needed publicly delivered water infrastructure. Will you commit to making this a priority? Please respond with your answer to this key question. Sincerely and honor.
Well, that was magical that it worked for the whole time. Wow. Yeah. So I just love the power and the fierceness that kids bring to the letters that they write. Yeah, so that is kind of the first learning journey and the action we'll have after, and then we'll move on, unless you want to add anything to the First Nations drinking water. Okay, so we'll move on. So the next thing we want to share with you is about a new organization called Tana-Gadieno Alliance. And so Tana-Gadieno Alliance is a partnership between Kitigan-Zibi, Gilbert White Duck is kind of the lead there, and Rita Jane, who is the city councillor for Chelsea, I think it was. And they've come together to create this alliance to start working towards getting personhood for the Gatineau River. So this is kind of a new movement, the Rights of Nature movement. And we first heard about this when we went to see a documentary back kind of December, I think, maybe, in the winter, where they presented this. So a number of rivers around the world have received this personhood now, and the first one in Canada did, the Magpie River in Quebec. And the idea behind it is giving rights to a river means that if somebody does something to hurt the river, they have to face the laws if they hurt a person. is my very non-legal description of it. So what we have one video to show you, just a short one on the idea, but there's other videos with, I think Eric did send or will send. You can watch a 10-minute video by Tanagadino Alliance. We just didn't have time to show that today. And then there's the whole I Am the Magpie documentary, which you can also watch on CBC Gems if you want to learn more. So we'll just start with this first video, just as a kind of summary of the idea.
Meet Ganges. She loves wildlife, and she's really popular, especially with Hindus who see her as sacred. She's quite big, stretching from the Himalayas down to Bangladesh. She's also India's oldest and one of its most important people. Confused? Well, while it might seem kind of weird, the Ganges River is one of 2 Indian rivers that have just been given the same rights as people. The other is the Yamuna, which runs into the Ganges. Now, obviously, they're not people, they're rivers. But an Indian court decided they were really important living things that deserve the same protection people get. You see, the rivers are really badly polluted, and Indian authorities have been trying to change that. Giving them the same rights as people means that if someone harms the river, then in the eyes of the law, it'd be the same as harming a person. The decision in India comes just a week after New Zealand's third largest river, the Wanganui, also got the same rights as a person. Local Maori people see the river as an ancestor, and have been fighting for years to have it recognised.
That river is such an important and intricate part of people's lives.
The decision was cause for celebration among Wanganui's family members. It's hoped that in New Zealand as well as in India, the new laws will make a big difference for these rivers and all the other people that depend on them.
So what I love about that is, again, if we all grew up thinking that the river was our ancestor, was our family, what would we do differently in our life? And, I mean, let's do that moving forward.
Yeah, and I think it's Indigenous people that are really the push behind this, and that we are starting to see as settlers on land, basically stolen land, that if we want to continue to have our children, our grandchildren, and all the generations to come, if we want them to inherit something that's worth inheriting, that we need to get on board and recognize that Indigenous people's struggles are actually our struggles too. It just is that, I heard one Indigenous activist and scholar say it's just that the rope that we're hanging ourselves with is a lot shorter for Indigenous people than it is for non-Indigenous people. So this initiative, when Lindsey first alerted me to it, I was very, very excited because I knew that this had been done before, and I knew that, I'm not sure how many years ago it was, but corporations, huge corporations, have already been given personhood status. So if these are the entities that are ruining our lakes and our rivers and the air that we breathe and the earth that we survive on, then why can't something that is living actually have personhood status? The other thing that I learned when we were at the meeting where this initiative, this alliance was, I guess, advertised for the public, was that the lawyer who worked on gaining this legal personhood for the Magpie River, she was there, she was on the panel, and she was talking about the process. And for the Magpie River, it was 2 years, which I was just astounded because 2 years is very fast. Now, I guess for something like the Gatineau River, it would take longer because there are more issues, there's more development,
There's more
et cetera.
stakeholders involved.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But it's still, everyone's feeling very optimistic about it and exciting, and like for us to be a part of it. So they have a Facebook page. They're very brand new though. So if you're on Facebook and you want to like their page, they don't even have like 100 likes yet, I don't think. And I'm going to keep coming to things like this and helping to promote what they're doing. I think you can also probably sign up for their newsletter on their website. And so the second social justice action piece we have is there is a declaration that you can sign online showing that you support this. So we're going to have that open on 2 laptops in the coffee hour, so you can come and enter your information and sign the declaration for them. Yeah, and I think that's it. Oh, and one other thing I should have said, we didn't even plan to wear our matching shirts today, but these shirts are designed by Elder Dumas, who we also have the honor, well, I'll say I have the honor, I'm sure you feel the same way, of working very closely with him on his different initiatives and learning from him and being guided by him. So, yeah, that's the other piece that we came together on.
Yeah, and his home territory is also Kitigan-Zibi, and any initiatives that help to push Algonquin concerns are his concerns as well. So, and we also did want to leave a little bit of time for question and answer, I think, right?
If we have it.
Do we have it?
A little bit, okay.
One or two questions if you've got them, and of course you can get us afterwards as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it's just the first one to start with. Oh, are you saying like why we're concerned or why?
Why it's the Gatineau instead of, let's say,
Okay.
instead of Kitigan-Zibi. I think it's because the Gatineau River is the one that is closest to Kitigan-Zibi, I believe.
Yeah. So I guess proximity would be the answer. Yeah. I think it was just Rita saw this idea, met up with Gilbert, and so they've picked this. But the idea being, let's show a model that like gets into place and let's go across Canada. Yeah.
And the Gatineau does come here as well.
Yeah.
So. That was a great question. Thank you.
And the river keeper here, the Ottawa river keeper, are you aligned with them and work with them?
So that's actually where I found out about this. So I was at a meeting at the Ottawa Riverkeeper's new beautiful house. And Rita, that's where she mentioned this. So I will say, actually, I'm very peripheral to this. Like, I just told Rita and Gilbert with my kids, I'll do what I can to help promote. But I would say that Rita is connected to them, to the Ottawa Riverkeeper. Yeah.
And I think what's really so hopeful and so energizing about this is that with the residential school commemoration project, Project of Heart, I'm wearing one of the tiles around my neck right now. With this being done in the schools, one of the last parts of the project is to do a social justice action to prove that we're actually sorry for the harms committed to Indigenous peoples and their lands. And this social justice action fits in really well with that. We have, in the past, most of our actions have been to support, and we still do, the First Nations Child and Family Caring Society in their discrimination complaint against the federal government for inequities in the child welfare system, in education, and in health. But it doesn't have to be just that. It can be any social justice action. And because we're living on Algonquin territory, it makes sense. This is something that is very, very close to our hearts as well. And if it can get some agency through the schools, we could really be going somewhere with it. And at the meeting that we had with the panel, when the documentary on the Magpie River was being shown, Gilbert White Duck also mentioned about all the possibilities that are open for us as citizens of the municipality of Ottawa to incorporating the principles of UNDRIP, the United Nations Declaration for the Rights of Indigenous People, that we can get, if we can get traction on this and get some sort of a framework where the municipality makes its decisions in congruence with UNDRIP, then, you know, we could really be doing something very good and fairly quickly, because speed is of the essence
You mentioned other links. There are, I think, 3 that were included in the service description materials in Friday's EUU, which is our weekly email newsletter blast. If you didn't get that or don't get that and want to, just give me send me a line. I think we've got time for one more question. Seeing none, let's thank you for your, this is good work. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seems that Mother Nature is offering us some rain today, which I think is really apropos, so thank you for that. As we begin the offering, I'd like to invite the ushers to start passing the baskets at this time. Our congregation has a long history of care, vitality, and bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We've been able to live into our hopes and dreams because of the generosity of those within and beyond this community. Whether you're here in Worship Hall or anywhere else, you are a part of this community. We rely on one another to keep this congregation vital and resilient. If you have any questions about how you can give, please go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how you can make a donation or keep up with your pledge. Our gifts are freely given and gratefully received. We dedicate these gifts to the work of this community of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. And now, please rise as you are willing and able as we join together in our closing hymn, Rising Green, number 1068 in the Teal Hymnal. The lyrics will be on the screen above.
begin to close this time of worship, learning, and reflection, a reminder that coffee hour will begin in Fellowship Hall immediately after the service. And if you are new here, still feel new, or simply welcome a really good conversation this afternoon, please pick up a green mug as you enter Fellowship Hall. Doing so will help others looking forward to great conversation find you. And I will also say our guests this morning will be at a table for further information and conversation. Thank you. And normally each Sunday at this time, I invite you to help yourselves to the greens from the grow towers in the room next to Fellowship Hall. However, the good folks of Ajaski had decided that the plants need a couple fallow weeks. They need a few weeks of rest so they can start producing in larger quantities. So we're going to wait until sometime next month to return to our harvesting. We extinguish our chalice flame this morning to Denise Levertov's poem, Beginners. I've offered this to you in short form before. Today felt like the whole thing was called for. We have only begun to love the earth. We've only begun to imagine the fullness of life. How could we tire of hope? So much is in bud. How can desire fail? We have only begun to imagine justice and mercy, only begun to envision how it might be to live as siblings with beast and flower, not as oppressors. Surely our river cannot already be hastening into the sea of non-being. Surely it cannot drag in the silt all that is still innocent. Not yet, not yet. There is too much broken that must be mended. Too much hurt we have done to each other that cannot yet be forgiven. We have only begun to know the power that is in us if we would join our solitudes in the communion of struggle. So much is unfolding that must complete its gesture. So much is in bud. You know, we said we sang our last song, but we always have one more. Please rise in joining me as Jen leads us in singing Spirit of Life. It is number 123 in your gray hymnal. We will sing first the English and then our own translation in French. I hope the projector stays working. Spirit of Life. seated if you will. As we prepare to enter the rest of our week, return to the world at large, let me say this to encourage all of us to always remember that we are people of love, providing a place in this world for our spirit, a place that can perhaps best be called home. And now, as we return to the challenge and joy of helping the world come alive in love, let us go forward with love in our hearts, sowing seeds of justice from our hands, with peace in our steps. Go with peace in your steps, my friend. Go in peace. Now our postlude, Stolen Lands by Julian Taylor.